When a huge crisis hits, how do you even find the words to express all the grief and fear and hope? Well, today we're going to explore that. We're looking at a really powerful prayer that was written during a devastating flood, and by looking at its language and how it's structured, we can see how people grapple with tragedy, moving from a really personal loss to this universal cry for mercy.
So the prayer starts right where the devastation is most obvious, with the loss of a home. But listen to the first request. It isn't for a new house or for food. The very first thing it asks for is something you can't see, something much harder to rebuild. Courage.
And this focus on what's going on inside, on the heart, is really the foundation for the entire prayer. Before it gets to any of the physical needs, it first tries to tend to those invisible wounds of the spirit.
What's so telling here is the priority. By asking for courage first, the prayer totally gets the deep psychological shock that comes with losing everything. It's basically saying that resilience, just having the strength to get up and start again, that's the most important first step of all.
Okay, so we go from the general loss of a home, and now the focus just zooms in, getting incredibly specific. It hones in on maybe the most heartbreaking tragedy you can imagine, a child losing their mother. And that shift makes this huge, collective suffering feel deeply, deeply personal.
And this is where the language gets so beautiful. It shows you the power of poetry in prayer. The request is for divine mercy to literally become a physical comfort, to be a stand-in for a mother's hug. I mean, what a moving image of comfort in the face of just an unbearable loss.
All right, so after speaking to those deep emotional wounds, the prayer now shifts its focus. It turns to the people who survived, but are now just left completely exposed, with no support.
This is where we get into the stark, tangible reality of being displaced. That image of people just sitting, helpless and tense, it's powerful. But again, you'll notice the plea goes way beyond just asking for a roof over their heads.
This three-step progression is so important. First, refuge. That's physical safety. Get them out of harm's way. Second, peace. That's mental, emotional calm in the middle of all this chaos. And finally, ease. A plea for their struggle to just get a little lighter, to become more bearable. It's this incredibly holistic view of what safety really means.
Okay, now watch what happens next, because the prayer does something really interesting. It takes this huge step back. It zooms out from the individual person in a tent to capture the full scale of the national disaster.
Now, the plea is explicitly national. It's asking for mercy on every place in Pakistan where the flood has come. By naming the nation as a whole, it's setting the stage for an even more detailed picture of the tragedy.
And it doesn't just say Pakistan in general. By specifically naming places like Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Swat, Buner, the prayer does something really important. It stops being just a general plea and becomes this unifying document. It's like it's weaving all these individual tragedies from all over the country into one single, shared story of grief and hope.
And just when you think the scope can't get any wider, it expands one last time. We've gone from the personal to the national, and now we're going universal.
So the prayer calls out using this incredibly powerful name for God's compassion, O most merciful of the merciful. And it does this right before making its biggest request yet, protection for the entire Ummah. So what does that really mean? It means this prayer, which started from a very specific local disaster, is now opening its arms to embrace a global community. It's asking for protection for all believers, everywhere, from any kind of future disaster, whether it comes from the earth or from the sky.
And finally, after all of these pleas for others, for the homeless, for the orphans, for the entire nation and the world, the prayer takes one last turn. It looks inward for a very personal, very humble request.
And notice that shift in language. It goes to the first-person plural, us. That is so important. It creates this sense of shared humanity, shared responsibility. Asking for our shortcomings to be pardoned, that's such a profound moment of humility. It's acknowledging our own human imperfection in the face of all this. The person praying isn't standing apart from the suffering, they're part of it.
And this all builds to this one last powerful image. After all the devastation caused by water, the prayer asks for the shade of mercy. It's this beautiful symbol of ultimate comfort, of protection, and relief from all the harshness of the world.
Amen, O Lord of the worlds.
So what does this all tell us?
This prayer is so much more than just a list of requests. Its structure is like a roadmap of the human heart in a time of crisis. It starts with the most immediate personal pain, then it slowly expands its circle of compassion outward, and finally, it finds peace and humility and a universal hope for mercy. It really shows us how we build meaning and connection and resilience, one heartfelt plea at a time.